Hello, in this video we'll go over Unit 3, Activity 1. And in Unit 3 we're going to focus on the media and specifically on news reports. So you're going to have to read news reports and then eventually write your own news reports. So if we start, in Minds On, we're going to start by looking at what is the news. And we've got a video here from the BBC where they're going to explain what the news is and what it should be providing to us as a society, and why news is important to us. And so we'll start with that video. As you watch it, think about how you get news, whether it's local news, national news, international news. How do you get your news? And to take that one step further, I'm going to ask you to write about how you get your news in portfolio entry number 4. And so you should already have 3 portfolio entries, and they should all be saved in one document. Remember, you're not submitting your portfolio entries as soon as you write them. You're going to save them all and submit them as a package at the ending of the semester. And so we should be adding our 4th portfolio entry. And the question I'm asking you is, where do you get your news from? Do you watch the news on television? Do you listen to the news on the radio? I tend to listen to the news on the radio when I'm driving into work, for example. Do you read newspapers or magazines? Some people still like to actually read a paper copy of a newspaper or a magazine. Do you get your news online? And I'm thinking a lot of us probably do at this point. And if so, what type of websites do you use? Do you go to traditional news agencies like the CBC or BBC or CNN's webpage, or maybe the Windsor Star's webpage? Or do you use social media websites like Facebook and Twitter to get your news? There is no right or wrong answer. It's just I'm asking you to think about yourself and to think about how you take in news, and to tell me where you tend to find it. I'd like you to fully explain what sources you use to get local, national, or international news. Or if you're someone, and I do get some students that'll say, well, I don't pay attention to the news and I don't watch or listen or read the news. Number one, I'd say that that's hard to do in our society, because whether we like it or not, news is everywhere. When I open up the internet and I go to Google or Yahoo, I'm usually directed towards, I usually get some sort of news highlights, whether I like it or not. But if you're someone who says they don't pay attention to the news and don't care about the news, well, then explain to me why. Okay, so even if you say, well, I don't really have any sources that I directly go to find news, explain to me why. Okay, what is it that makes you avoid the news? And so ultimately, I'd like you to write at least 8 sentences in your response. And like I said, you're not submitting it right now. You're saving it with your other portfolios, your other portfolio entries, and you're going to submit all of them together at the ending of the semester in Unit 5. All right, if we continue on, we're going to specifically look at news reports in this unit. And news reports, I would say, is the most traditional way of presenting news. So if you go back to newspapers on paper, they would write news reports. And so we're going to look at how a news report is structured. And you've actually already looked at this a little bit in Unit 2, but as a little reminder, every news report should start with what we call a lead paragraph. And in the lead paragraph, you should establish the who, what, where, when, why, and how. So what happened, where did it happen, when did it happen, why did it happen, right? So if you can answer those questions in your first paragraph, that's usually the best way to start a news report. And then you would continue on providing more details about whatever event it is that you're talking about in the news report, and the details will get less and less important as you go. So in a news report, you always want to start with the most important and then move from there. There are some features of a news report that you're going to have to become familiar with, because you're going to have to be able to spot them when you read news reports, and you're going to have to be able to include them when you write your own news reports. And so there's 9 particular features. We have headline, photo, caption, byline, dateline, placeline, lead paragraph, which we've already talked about, body, and direct quotations. And so you can see all 9 of those different features of a news report at work in this example. So if I click my X here, and we move down, we can see our headline, and then you can see the photo, the caption, number 2, the photo here, the caption, and so you can see all different parts of the news report and how they function and how they work together. Okay? Keep this in mind. I would expect you to know the different parts of a news report. Okay? If we move down, we're going to talk about facts. A news report should be written using facts. We're not writing opinions in a news report. There's a different type of news reporting called editorials, where you're allowed to put in your opinions. But in Unit 3, we're focusing in on factual, or what we would call objective, news reporting. And so when you read news reports in this unit, they should be factual. They shouldn't be the author expressing their opinion. And when you write your own reports, I'm going to expect you to do the same. I'm going to expect you to stick to the facts and to not include your opinion. You'll get a chance to write your opinion when we move on to Unit 4, and in that unit we'll focus on opinion writing. So this is just a little interactive activity right here that you can go through. If you start the questionnaire, they'll give you different statements and a photo to go along with it and ask you to identify whether it's a fact or an opinion, and you can submit your answer and then move on. The whole point here is just to make sure that we're clear on what is a fact and what is an opinion. Sometimes students kind of blur the line and they think that they're writing factual statements when in reality they're giving me their opinion. And then last but not least, in consolidation, I'm going to have you read a news report, and that news report is called Protecting People and Polar Bears from Each Other. And you're going to read this report. And if you take a look, this is the report right here. You can read it all right on our webpage. The whole article is right here. And then you're going to answer reading response questions. So we've done this a number of times already, and the questions are going to look very familiar. So for this article here, I'd like to know what is the main idea in 1 sentence and 2 supporting details which back up the main idea. And I'd like you for question number 2 to determine who you think is the intended audience for this news report, and to provide specific examples from the article to support your opinion. And then lastly, is the information presented in the article important to you? Does it relate to your own life? And as always, provide examples from the article and from your life to explain why or why not. And then you'll type out your answers as you always do, and you'll submit them to the Dropbox. So you've got 2 assignments to take care of in this activity. You've got your reading response questions at the ending of the activity, and you've got your portfolio entry near the top of the activity. So you want to complete both this week. If you have any questions, please let me know.